Bava Batra Daf Chof Hey, Amud Aleph and Bet. Jerusalem and the Shechinah, Shechinah b'chol makom. Energy is directional. That means that there is a different energy if one can be sensitive to energies, if one's facing north or south or eastern or west, that there is a dimension of energy to direction, and there's a dimension of direction in energy. And this Daf of Gemara, almost the whole of Chof Hey, is dealing with these different energies that there are in facing or walking in particular directions. And of course this links to the practice that we have in davening, of davening in a particular direction. It's not that we daven specifically to the east, as we see, we daven facing the Beis HaMikdash. The shir is dedicated by Eliyahu Chaim Korn, who's normally with us. Oh, you're with us, huh? Hi, Eliyahu. I was going to say, who isn't with us because he's just had a baby, so mazel tov to you and your wife. Dedicated in his father's yortzeit to Rabbi Yamin, who Eliyahu remembers as a loving father, a caring husband, and a proud Jew. What a wonderful way to be remembered, so thank you, Eliyahu. The Gemara says, Tana de Rabbi Yishmael, minayin shechina b'chol makom. But what about the Shechinah? So we say, yes, there's direction and there are different energies in different directions. What about the Shechinah? Where's God's presence? Is one direction more holy than another? Can one access more kedusha, more of the Shechinah in one direction rather than another? No, this is Tana de Rabbi Yishmael. The Shechinah is everywhere. Shneimar hinei hamalach hadover biyotzeh, malach acher yotzeh likrato. Hashem sends one malach out to meet me, says the Novi, and then Hashem changes his mind and sends another Novi to change the message, and he comes to meet this one. So the two malachim, the two angels, are coming from opposite directions. Where they're coming from? They're coming from Hashem. So where's Hashem? Hashem is everywhere. אחריו לא נאמר לקראתו מלמד ששכינה בכל מקום. ואף רב ששת סבר, and Rav Sheshet also, שכינה בכל מקום. Rav Sheshet also holds that the Shechinah is everywhere. Because Rav Sheshet said to his shamas, to the person who used to serve him, Rav Sheshet was blind. He needed somebody to guide him. I want to daven Shmona Esra. I want to start davening. Help me face the right way, and it doesn't matter which direction, as long as it's not east. V'lav mishum delet be'shchina, and the reason I don't want to face east is not because there's no Shechinah in the east, there's Shechinah everywhere. And mishum demoru bo'amini, it's because the idol worshippers faced east, they faced the sunrise, and so that's the one direction that we shouldn't face, and even in Shulchan Aruch that's brought about not facing absolute east, trying to face a little bit off is not exactly where the sun rises, because of the din of Rav Sheshet. But we certainly see from Rav Sheshet and others that the understanding is the Shechinah is everywhere. There's no particular place or direction that one needs for the Shechinah. So even though there is directionality in energies, the Shechinah one can access facing any direction. It doesn't matter. The Gemara says in Brachos, Sumo mishene yachol lechaven et haruchot, that if a person's blind, like Rav Sheshet was, and doesn't have a shamas there, or somebody who doesn't know which is north, south, east, or west, you don't have a compass, and you're in a hotel room somewhere, and you don't know what direction is what, yechaven libo keneged aviv shebashamayim, built on the same principle that the Shechinah is everywhere. You don't have to be facing east. You face whichever way you want, and the main thing is that your heart is facing the Ribono Shel Olam. Shneimar v'hitpalalu el Hashem, daven to Hashem, face Hashem when you're davening. So that has to be no matter what. Facing Hashem is a requirement, that you face Hashem when you're davening. Does that mean physically facing a particular direction? So far in our Gemara it would seem no, it doesn't matter what direction you're facing. But on the next page, on the Chof Hey Amud Beis, Amar le Rav Chanina le Rav Ashi, Rav Chanina said to Rav Ashi, Kigon aton de yatvu b'tzfoina de Eretz Yisrael. You Babylonians are north of Israel, kind of northeast of Israel. Adrimu adrumi, you're fortunate because you can face south and you're facing Eretz Yisrael. Because the Gemara just earlier said that if you want to develop chokhmah, yadrim, that if you face the south when you're saying Shemona Esra, it's a good energy for intellectual strength. And if you face north, it's a good energy for economic strength, for financial strength. So we see these different energies. And Rabbi Chanina says to Rav Ashi, you can face both south and Eretz Yisrael. How does he know that Bovel is north of Eretz Yisrael. Dichtiv mitzafon tiftach hara'a al kol yeshvei haaretz, and he brings a posuk we see in the Torah, which is an interesting aside altogether. He doesn't bring scientific evidence. Our reality is a closed system of Torah. That there is a scientific reality, of course there is, and we have to interact with it and engage with it in all sorts of ways, in halacha as well. But the Torah itself is a very closed system of reality, and to answer a simple question like, how do you know that Bavel is north of Eretz Yisrael? I mean, one could say very easily, lots of people traveled from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael and back. They would know if they traveled north or east or south, they would know how they got to Bavel. So you shouldn't have to need a posuk. But we see that our understanding of reality is built on Torah itself. Be that as it may, we see here on Amud Beis that there is a preference of facing Eretz Yisrael, which is built on the Gemara in Brachos, which we learn back on Daf Lamed in Brachos. Tanu Rabbanon, Haya omed b'chutz la'aretz yechavenit libo keneged Eretz Yisrael. This is a continuation of the same brisa that says if you're blind or you don't know which way to face, then just face Hashem. But if you do know which way to face, then if you're in chutz la'aretz, then you must face Israel. Shenema v'itpalalu elecho derech artzam. You should pray to the Rebbeinu Shalom through Eretz Yisrael. That word derech artzam is key. Haya omed be'eretz Yisrael, if you win Eretz Yisrael, chaven libo keneged Yerushalayim, face Yerushalayim, shneimar v'itpalalu el Hashem derech ha'ir asher bacharta. Pray to Hashem through the city that you've chosen. Haya omed be'Yerushalayim, chaven libo keneged Beis Hamikdash. If you were in Yerushalayim, you face the Beis Hamikdash. Haya omed be'Beis Hamikdash. If you're in the Beis Hamikdash, you chaven libo keneged Beit Kodshei HaKadoshim. Then you face the Holy of Holies. Shneimar v'itpalalu la'makom hazeh. Haya omed be'Beit Kodshei HaKadoshim. If you're in the Kodshei HaKadoshim, Aaron HaKohen is in the Kodshei Kadoshim. How does he face? Then he faces the Beis HaKaporos, where the Aaron is, where the luchos are kept. If you are behind the Beis HaKaporos, it emerges. This isn't about direction. This is about Yerushalayim. This isn't about whether you face north, south, east, or west. It depends where you are in the world. If you are in the east, then you face the west. If you're in the west of Israel, you face the east. Always facing Israel. What's important is that everybody, all the Jewish people, are facing the same way when they're davening. That's what's the important part of this. Asks Tosfos, Kol hani amorai let lehu hadatanya bivrocha shechayav adam litpalel neged Yerushalayim. All these amoraim on Daf Chaf Hei Amud Aleph, who all talk about the fact that the Shechinah is everywhere, don't agree with that Gemara in Daf Lamed in Brachot. Mishum dichtiv vitpalelu lecha derech atzam ela savri k'Rabbi Yishmael de'omar b'kol mokom Shechinah. They hold like Rabbi Yishmael, who says the Shechinah is everywhere. Very difficult Tosfos. There's the Hagos Ohel Moshe are some notes that you find in the back of some Gemaras. The Ohel Moshe was actually the father-in-law of the Torah Tamima. And he has a lot of difficulty with this Tosfos and tries to resolve it a different way. Not even going into that, what fascinates me about the Sugi is, one thing is for sure, you can't say that those who hold in Brachot, that you've got to face Yerushalayim, do not hold that the Shechinah is everywhere. We've got enough proofs here on Daf Chaf Hei that the Shechinah is everywhere. How can it be? But Tosfos seems to imply that there's a machlokas between the Amoraim in both Masechtas, that those Amoraim hold that the Shechinah is where Yerushalayim is, and you must face there. And our Amoraim here in Bava Batra hold that the Shechinah is everywhere. And that is very difficult to hold. And there are various ways of resolving that. But probably the way of understanding it best is the Rambam himself, where the Rambam says in Hilchos Tefillah, Shmona dvarim tzarich mitpalel lihizaher bahem vela'asotan. There are 8 things that when you're davening, you need to be very specific about. And he lists the 8 things. You see from here the Rambam has a havamina. He thinks, you might even think that these are so important, which they are, but you might think that they're so important that if you didn't fulfill them, you've got to daven again, your davening didn't work. So that's not so. He says that's the right way to do all of these 8 things, and if you didn't do it, your davening's still good. One of them is V'nochach HaMikdash. You've got to pray facing the Beis HaMikdash. So what the way the Rambam seems to be resolving it is the difference between the Chatchila and B'di'evet. That yes, of course we hold the Shechinah is everywhere. And therefore, B'di'evet, no matter which direction you daven, which direction you face, it's good because your heart is to Hashem. As the Gemara says, as long as your internal face is facing God, then where you're facing physically is of secondary importance. However, although the Shechinah is everywhere, it is one of the 8 things that the Rambam says, you've got to be careful about. And only if you can't avoid it do you not keep these 8 things, one of which is direction. So why is it, if the Shechinah is everywhere, if that is so fundamental to our belief, that the Shechinah is everywhere, why must we daven one way? Why is it even important? Why does anybody say we have to daven one way? And I referred back to a really important shir that I gave on Yom Yerushalayim of 2020, Tafshin Mem. It's worth listening to, particularly in light of the sugya. And it's on the app, on the Rabbi David Lapin app, where I spoke about the Maharal and a Malbim based on the Gemara in Tainis, where the Gemara says, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu lo avor b'Yerushalayim shel mala ad she'avor l'Yerushalayim shel mata. I will not come to the upper Yerushalayim until I have visited the lower Yerushalayim. Umi ike Yerushalayim lamala. Is there another Yerushalayim up in the Shemayim that we don't know about? In dichtiv Yerushalayim habnuya ke'ir shechubra la yachdav. We talk about the rebuilt Yerushalayim being a Yerushalayim that is connected together. So there are 2 parallel Yerushalayim with a connection in between them, says the Gemara in Tainis. And the Maharal says, Yerushalayim eina ir tivit kamo shari. Yerushalayim is not a normal city like any other. Raki ir elokit b'malata elokit. He doesn't even just say that there's kedusha, there's sanctity in Yerushalayim. He says Yerushalayim is an ir elokit. That it's a godly city because it's connected to a whole nother system of Yerushalayim in Shemayim. And there's some beautiful Malbims that I reference where the Malbim talks about what this is and explains that when you daven, the Yerushalayim Shel Mala is the source of bracha. All of our blessings come from Yerushalayim Shel Mala. They flow to Yerushalayim Shel Mata. So there's this massive pipeline, the Chubrolo, between the 2 Yerushalayim. That's the connection between the Yerushalayim, and there's a current of bracha that flows from the upper Yerushalayim to the lower Yerushalayim, and from Yerushalayim out to everywhere. Every individual, every person, every town, every home, that bracha flows from Yerushalayim out to there. And I explained in that shir that the flow is 2 ways. We can access Yerushalayim through those same pipe systems. There is such strong connection between the upper Yerushalayim and the lower Yerushalayim and every person in the world, that in the reverse way, when we're davening, we use those same pipelines to direct our brachas, to direct our tefillot to Yerushalayim, and from Yerushalayim up. So if you can imagine, it's like a Wi-Fi kind of a system. All our brachas come, there's a channel that is able to take it. Yerushalayim then amplifies our brachas, because everybody's brachas come to the same place. That's what the Gemara means when it says it emerges, Nimtzu kol Yisrael mechavnim et libam lemakom echad. All of the tefillot of Am Yisrael come together, and they go up together. They go to Yerushalayim, everybody's brachot gather in Yerushalayim, and from Yerushalayim they're amplified, and they move up to Yerushalayim Shel Mala, and from there to the Ribono Shel Olam. So it's a vehicle, it's a tool. Yerushalayim, we don't face Yerushalayim because we're facing the Shechinah. You can face the Shechinah any direction. The Shechinah is anywhere. That's not why we face Yerushalayim. We face Yerushalayim because it's a tool of tefillah. Like we've got tefillin, and we've got a talis, and we've got a Beit Knesset, and we've got an Aron Kodesh. There are various tools that we have that help us with tefillah. A siddur is a tool. A siddur is not just a record of the tefillah in case you get. It's a tool to actually use the siddur and the words to amplify and strengthen and intensify your tefillah. So it is with Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim is a gift of Hashem to us, a connection to Shemayim, a connection to the Kisei HaKavod, a connection to Hashem Himself that not only radiates brachot to every person, but also enables us to take our tefillot and direct them to the Ribbono Shel Olam by aggregating the international brachot of all of Klal Yisrael, packaging them together in Yerushalayim, and amplifying their way to the Yerushalayim Shel Ma'ala and ultimately to Hashem Himself, where with Emir Hashem, Hashem not only accepts our brachot, but responds to them with Shefa Shel Bracha, with an enormous amount, responds to our tefillah with Shefa Shel Bracha, and an enormous amount of blessing and bracha.